Alright guys, I think it might finally be over for real this time. Rest in peace to the MasterChef meta, 2021 to 2022. I mean, it never should have been a thing to begin with, and we all really shouldn't be surprised at all. The only real surprise in all of this is that Twitch finally decided to do something. I mean, come on, has Twitch ever done anything about a big problem like this? It's crazy. It almost feels like they listened to the feedback they got in videos like mine, because the 2-day ban they handed out to Pokimane is nothing compared to the tactical nuke that they just dropped on Disguised Toast. A 30-day ban. Can't help but wonder if they got a call from some dude down in legal who was like, hey guys, we need to stop this now. And they ignored him for a few days, and then he came back up and told them what could happen if they didn't deal with it. And bam, they decided that they needed to crack down because no one wants to get sued. Not even major companies like Twitch. So what exactly happened to Disguised Toast? Well, let's just say he went a little bit of a different route on the MasterChef meta. Instead of watching top TV network shows like MasterChef and Kitchen Nightmares, Toast decided to stream himself watching anime, including Naruto and Death Note. My guess is that he thought since the companies that own the copyright on those anime are for the most part based in Japan, it's likely that they don't speak English, and it was very unlikely that they would notice his streams, since mid-50s Japanese business people are probably not Disguised Toast's core audience. And I can't help to think that he was right about that. It was probably less risky for him since they'd have a harder time finding it, but that doesn't mean that it's not illegal, and it doesn't mean that it's okay. And he miscalculated on 2 points. He probably didn't realize how much press and buzz was going to be generated by streamers watching TV. Like, it went from being something that every top streamer was doing but nobody mentioned, to being the subject of hundreds of videos by YouTubers like me. And also, probably more damaging and realistically, mainstream media caught onto the story and started publishing articles after articles about the MasterChef meta and how streamers are watching full TV shows on Twitch and Twitch is doing nothing about it. And you know how it is with the mainstream media, when they get their mitts on something, they never want to let go. And the mainstream media covering this probably led to a lot of these right holders paying some dude in their office to watch streams all day and strike down any streams he found that were violating their copyright, which I've got to say is kind of a sweet job for that guy, so props to him. But also, you know, it's something that probably wouldn't have happened had it not gotten so much attention. And again, it's something that the Twitch streamers probably should have realized was going to happen eventually when people figured out what they were doing. The second thing that he miscalculated on is that now rights holders are building automated systems to strike live content. You see, a lot of these streamers will delete their VODs after they go live, which means the rights holders have a hard time finding stuff that violates their content, because if you don't catch them in that, 5-6 hour window where they're live streaming your copyrighted material, then you can't really strike them because they don't save the VOD on Twitch. So you have to be there when you're live. Nowadays, they're building these automated systems, kind of like what YouTube has, but instead of being made by Twitch, it's being made by the copyright companies themselves to find people who are violating their content and strike it down automatically. But what exactly happened to Disguised Toast? Well, he was streaming, watching Death Note, which is a popular anime, when he suddenly gets banned right before the climax of the episode. He tweeted, "They really couldn't have waited 20 more minutes, huh?" And his channel showed up on the streamer ban's Twitter account, letting everyone know that he was banned. Though, looking at the replies to that tweet, people weren't exactly surprised that it happened. People thought, oh, this is just like what happened to Pokimane. He'll get a 2-day ban and we'll be watching him again by the end of the week. But nope, Twitch went nuclear. Toast tweeted, well, looks like I'll be seeing you guys in a month, which confirms that he got a 1-month, 30-day ban. Assuming that is the new norm, I don't think that any streamer is going to be really able to risk streaming copyrighted content going forward, which is ultimately a good thing, though it might make the streamers' jobs a little bit more difficult. The really interesting thing here, though, is the difference between Pokimane's ban and the Toast ban. Why did Toast get a 30-day ban when Pokimane got a 2-day? From the outside, it doesn't really make much sense, which has a lot of people thinking that it was just another example of Twitch enforcing their bans in a way that favors certain streamers, and realistically, it does look that way. I mean, come on, you're gonna tell me it doesn't? Definitely looks like they're playing favorites here. But there's a lot of context that we don't have for this one. Toast had been streaming the anime for quite a few days, whereas Pokimane had only streamed it once before her ban, which makes me think that it's possible that Pokimane only got one DMCA takedown request, but Toast got multiple. That's really the only way that I can rationalize it without being one of those dudes who automatically goes hard in on the Twitch is having favoritism bandwagon. But that leads to more questions, right? If he got multiple DMCA requests, why wasn't the ban permanent? According to Twitch's own terms of service, we will terminate an account holder's access to the Twitch service if that user is determined by Twitch to be a repeat infringer of copyrighted works on the service. Under our policy, a user will be considered a repeat infringer if they accrue 3 copyright strikes, which says to me that since his ban wasn't a permaban, he didn't get 3 strikes. So is this a case where he didn't get any DMCA takedown notices and Twitch just took action on their own? We don't know, because Toast has been kind of tight-lipped about it. But I do suspect, and this is my own personal suspicion, that Twitch is the one who did it without getting any DMCA takedown requests, which would be a great step forward for Twitch, actually enforcing their policies and protecting themselves. The only other explanation that I can think of for his ban being 30 days instead instead of 2 days like Pokémon's is that somebody at Twitch just absolutely despises him for whatever reason, which I guess is also possible. Actually, knowing Twitch, I think that's more possible than you'd think. Next, now that we've talked about Toast, I'd like to take a moment to respond to some of the comments and questions I got in my first MasterChef Meta video, because some of the comments I replied to are important enough that I think it'd be good to put them into a video to dispel some common lines of thinking that can make people think that watching full TV shows on Twitch are okay. First, I'd like to talk about this comment by a guy named Lawrence. He said, IMO, DMCA, and fair use law are very vague and abusable. It needs a rework and a rehaul. It's a very waste of time. Lawmakers should look into it more because it causes unnecessary chaos. These issues exist due to the lack of formality and lackluster attempt to avoid loopholes. Now that's kind of a common take that a lot of streamers and YouTubers have, but it's not really true. The wording of the law may not make much sense to most people, but then again, the wording of most laws is incomprehensible to pretty much everybody. They go out of their way to write laws in the most complicated way possible, which is detrimental to everybody, but don't get me started on that. But the courts themselves have devised tests to determine what counts as fair use, and there is a large and long history of fair use court cases. And when there's a history of something being enforced by the courts, it's called the judicial record, which is used to determine whether or not something is a violation of the law in future cases, right? Using the judicial record to look at something and determine whether or not a law has been broken by looking at past cases and comparing the current case to past cases is incredibly common in pretty much all court cases. Now, I'm not a lawyer, so this is just my interpretation, but with a quick look online, you can find plenty of resources that will talk about how fair use law is enforced. It breaks down the 4 major factors that courts look at: the purpose and character of your use, the nature of the copyrighted work, the amount and sustainability of the portion taken, and the effect upon the potential market. Now, of course, there's some nuance in how judges interpret those 4 factors, but as a streamer or a YouTuber, those are what you're supposed to use as a guideline. And I don't think that they're so complicated that every streamer and YouTuber couldn't understand it. In the case of watching TV shows on Twitch, I'd draw your attention to 3 of those factors in particular. Number 1, the purpose and character of your use. Well, they're just watching it on stream while they're eating and adding little to no transformative content. Number 2, the amount and substantiality of the portion taken. They're literally watching whole TV shows. That's the substantiality. Number 3, the effect of the use upon the potential market. What reason is there for someone to go out and seek a legal means to watch the same episode they just watched on Twitch because they literally just watched it for free on Twitch with just some dude's face overlaid in the corner? For those reasons, I'd say that these streams probably aren't fair use. But again, I'm not a lawyer. Violating one or more of those factors doesn't necessarily mean it won't be found as fair use. For instance, there's a lawsuit that recently happened where Sargon of Akkad was brought into court after he re-uploaded a full-length video of the 2016 election night, originally put up by somebody of the opposite political persuasion of him. He added his own title, which satirized her original video, and because the title change was so transformative, the court ruled that Sargon's use of the entire video was fair use. So if you look at that, you gotta think, man, maybe it is kind of complicated. In summation, is it vague and hard to understand? Yes, if you get really into the weeds with it. But if you're a streamer and you follow the 4 guidelines, it really isn't. All you have to do is look at the 4 guidelines. If you're gonna do something that, is on the edge, maybe, talk to somebody and try to figure it out. But for the most part, for the average streamer, the average YouTuber, the copyright law is not that complicated. DMCA is not that complicated. You can figure it out if you just sit down, you look at the rules, and you say to yourself, is what I'm doing violating any of these 4 principles? And if it's something that is, then just don't do it. Next up is a little comment from Matrius, which reads, while streaming shows is a bad idea, I feel you are pretty ignorant if your response is, if you need to take a break to eat, just turn off stream, because you then go to no viewers and the past 8 to 12 hours of viewers joining in and you getting paid are reset from actual money back to pennies if you boot the stream back up. The alternative is a streamer who pulls long hours, never eats or takes bathroom breaks, which is just bad for your health, especially during 5 to 7 days a week, which is kind of also a common argument made by streamers and other people who are doing this. But it's a straw man argument. It's not a real argument. You're just setting up a straw man. You can't justify streamers illegally watching entire TV shows simply because if they didn't, they would lose viewers because they'd have to leave to eat or take a bathroom break. The alternative isn't a streamer who pulls long hours and never eats. That's a straw man. The alternative would be streamers who are adults, and all these streamers are adults, and adults can manage to take responsible breaks and set out a schedule so they don't have to compromise their health. The streamers aren't a passive force in this. They make their own schedules. They're their own bosses. And if they think they're working too much, they can just not. Will they take a financial hit from that? Maybe, but also maybe not. They're choosing to be self-employed. There are some trade-offs you have to make. And if you're not able to make difficult decisions, then realistically you shouldn't be self-employed, because you should never sacrifice your own health for your job. And if you can't do your job without sacrificing your health, you need to figure out a better way to do your job. Anyway, guys, I know that got kind of heavy at the end, but that's basically it. I'd love to hear what you guys think about all this. Do you think that Pokimane got preferential treatment? Do you think that Twitch took action on their own, or was there a copyright strike in Toast's case? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. God bless.